if there's no one, then we'll welcome Ash Ali, the book author of The Unfair Advantage. Get the mic for you.
Is mic working?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's for the.
Is it going to make some noise? Ooh, okay, not this one. Maybe it will take mine.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming today. Come all the way from UK. I spent nearly a month in Malaysia, and boy, have I learned a few things. I've learned a few things, like elevator buttons not having the right lift numbers on them, and just learning the culture of Malaysia. So thank you for attending today and spending time with me. And thank you for Audrey and Sam, a few people, to organize this event. Bye, Jones, for the food, and also yourself for the pizza as well.
No problem. Yeah, thank you for coming to Malaysia. So, I think there was some audience here that asked me, what got you to Malaysia? Because they read your book, they know you have launched or your entrepreneur journey in the UK. Yeah, what got you to Malaysia, and you have recently started U Hubs, right? So can you tell us more about that?
One word, makan. Oh gosh, how wonderful is the food here and the diversity. It's absolutely amazing. So what got me here is makan. But actually the reason I am here is that I run a startup called U Hubs. U Hubs is a sales performance diagnostic tool for sales teams. What we do is we analyze and assess sales teams using assessment data, CRM data, and call data, and we create unique personalized development plans for salespeople so they can upskill in the right things, the right places, but also we link it to the outcomes. So now your training is going to be directly linked to your performance, and you can see how that makes a difference. And the reason I'm in Malaysia is because we've signed a client. We did some work with them in the EMEA region and North America. They also have an APAC region. So they have an office in KL, Singapore, all this region here. So we're opening up a new region, new languages, and I'm here to onboard that client as well. So that's the reason why I'm here.
Okay. So for those, is it working? Okay. So for those of you who have read The Unfair Advantage, or those who haven't but just bought the book yesterday, which I know of. So they want to know what inspired you and Hassan Kubat to write the book Unfair Advantage.
Yeah, I sat down with my publisher and they asked me the same question. And I took a photo of the book aisle in Waterstones on the self-development. And I took a photo and I took it to them and I said, have a look at this photo. And they're like, yep. I said, no, zoom in. So I zoomed in and said, do you see anything? And they're like, no. I said, well, let me just go through the books on this aisle of self-development. Professors, American billionaires, people from America, more academics, more professors, more super successful outliers like, well-known MPs. So where's the normal voice of the normal person who's done stuff that can be relatable to other people? Where's the diversity in the voices of self-development and personal development? We live in a very diverse world. UK is very diverse. Malaysia's super diverse. And they were like, yes, we get your point. So the reason I wrote the book was because I wanted to read this book when I was 21 years old.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and how has this response of this book shaped your perspective about your entrepreneurship? Does it, do you also build your personal brand along the journey? Like it helps to connect you with so many audience, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Audrey. That's how we connected, right?
Yes.
So, we all have a passport, and some passports are better than other passports, but the best passport for me has been my book, because I just simply email the email list of people who've registered who are fans of our book, whichever country I go to in the world, and there's always a group of people that I can meet, local people. I can have a coffee, catch up, or it can be a slightly bigger event like this. And so the book has been it's a second passport for me, right? And the book is also an expensive business card, right? So if you're going to meet clients or meet somebody else, it creates an instant credibility and authority in what you're doing. And in the services business, that works massively. In the startup world, it doesn't work as well, but it does give you opportunities to go on a platform like this, to speak, to recruit for your startup, to promote your startup. So there are benefits to that. And of course, from a personal brand perspective, it's been huge. You know, like it's been global. And I didn't realize it will be so global so fast. And the book has gone down so well in the Asian continent, for example. It's been translated into simplified Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai recently, multiple languages, and we did not expect that.
Yeah.
Right? So the impact the book is having on people, and the emails we get every day from people saying, hey, I'm doing a PhD on this, I'm living in Japan, and hey, I used your book, and now I've got a business that's doing £1 million in ARR every month. And I was like, wow, great. You know, like, so there's so many great success stories. So the impact of the book has been fantastic. It's about helping the next generation, helping younger people, especially from different backgrounds like us, right? Who can't just read just go and do it books because, you know, they're sitting in America, going to an Ivy League university, you've got all the privileges, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially, I was talking to Ash earlier before this session. It's like we are from Southeast Asia. We're so diverse in our background, and we only listen to the stories in the West and how successful Airbnb is. These are actually the outliers, right? Like you said earlier. So for someone, I think I saw a lot of Antler people who just graduated and maybe just jump into this startup journey. So how was your first venture was like for you?
Yeah, my first venture was, I don't really call it a venture, I just call it a project. That's the other thing, because sometimes when you call it a venture, it's like, oh, I'm the CEO of my venture. Not really, it's just you and a project. So, and it's also a good way to think about that, because if you do fail, then you don't take it to heart. Whereas if you say, I've got a venture and I'm a CEO, and then all of a sudden it fails, it hits you a bit harder than, oh shit, I had all this stuff. So I kind of like limit the effect of the failure by saying, it's a project, I'm doing a project and I'm experimenting. So my first project was selling shoes on the internet at 18 years old. I started that in my parents' loft. There's, you know, typical Asian families, right? There's only 4 things you can be, right? Doctor, lawyer, engineer, or failure, right? I was the failure, apparently, right? So I was the failure, apparently, because I didn't go to university. I dropped out of college twice. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life, right? And all my life, the teachers and people around me are always telling me about how to improve on the things I wasn't very good at. But not many people knew what I was good at. And creativity is one of my superpowers, for example. And how do you be creative in school environment where everything's about passing exams and memorizing things and doing other things? So I really fell out the system. And at that point, I decided that actually, you know what, got a PC, 56K modem. You guys don't remember, some of you guys are too young to remember that, but some of you might. And I built a website selling shoes on the internet only because my friend's parents had a shoe shop. That is it. That was the only reason why. I didn't know what just make a website.
Was that your unfair advantage at that point?
You know, it's interesting. It was definitely, right? So your network and the people you know are going to be your first early people that you start projects with. And you need to have the opportunity. Now, my parents, my dad worked in the factory, my mom was a housewife. So I never really had a network. So my network came from my best friend at school, right? And I changed schools. So I went to a normal school, and then I went to one of these kind of grammar schools. When I went to the grammar school, I started meeting kids with parents who had businesses. And I was like, oh, that's different. And then became best friends. He had a shoe shop. I mean, why on earth would I sell shoes back in 1997 on the internet? I mean, you could try them on, do all sorts of stuff. Got so many funny stories of that. So I built an e-commerce website. So I'm very much a programmer, developer from the early stages of my life. I know how websites are built. So I know how everything is built from the ground up. And that's really helped me in my future work that I'm doing. And that was my first kind of foray into selling stuff online, and a first type of kind of, what I would say, official venture. But before that, I was a young kid, I did loads of stuff. You know, at 13, I did a newspaper round, right? So we used to drop off newspaper. I always wanted to make money, pocket money. I always felt like I needed to do something. And then at 16, I started selling CDs until I realized they were illegal. Encyclopedia CDs, so remember the Encartas and those Britannias? I was selling those through the newspaper until I realized actually I was getting them from somewhere else, and I was like, oops, right? So I kind of am the person that never asks permission, but when I get slapped on my wrist, I go, oh, okay, kind of mindset. So I've always had that as a child. So that, in terms of my ventures, as a child, I would say my newspaper round and then my CDs, but my real official one would be the e-commerce website I started.
Is that how you also started Just Eat?
So Just Eat was a slightly different story. Just Eat was later in my career. You know, I started to work at an agent. So when I built this website, I won an award for it, and I moved from Birmingham, which is like a second city in the UK, to London. And I started working at an agency building websites, and I started to learn a lot about how, you know, client work is done and so on. So building these websites and so on. And then I did quite a few bits and pieces of work in between this, actually in the corporate world, building work, focusing on digital marketing. You know, there was a time when people used to build a website, and the CEO would say, "I want a 30-second intro with a rotating logo." Right? There used to be a time that people say that, and I was like, "Why?" So I was very much about usability, accessibility in the early stages, and then SEO and digital marketing. It's not just about having a website, it's about generating traffic, and not many people were talking about it then. So I really got involved in online marketing and so on as well. And so Just Eat came about when the founder approached me and said, "Hey Ash, I'm looking for a marketing director." And I said no at first, because I thought it was just not a very good idea. Who's going to order takeaway on the internet, right? This was way before mobile phones came out. There was no iPhone this time. So we're talking about ordering your Grab off a desktop laptop. Think about that. Weird, right? That's what we were doing in that time. And then I got to know the team, and I kind of like was 26 years old, had a 6-month-old daughter, and people asked me, you know, how do you make that decision? I had a nice corporate job, had a big team. I was doing okay, I was fine, right? But then I still always had this thing in me. I was always doing side hustles by the way. So side hustles are great to learn, by the way. Never stop doing side hustles. If you have a full-time job, just keep doing side hustles. You'll learn loads of cool things, right? And so I picked up my 6-month-old daughter and put her in the air and said, "This startup better IPO." No, I didn't say that. I said, "This better work." I was the whole sole breadwinner, and I just went straight 2 feet in and said, "Let's do it."
That's great. Amazing story. So along your journey, what do you think are the most underrated skills or traits that entrepreneurs often overlook, or things that you look back in hindsight and think, oh, actually that's my strength or unfair advantage? Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many things. I think the main thing that I found was remaining curious and having curiosity. You know, in school they knock it out of you. You know, you just got to know what to do, and that's it. And this is the path that you got to follow. But you've got to follow your own path by being curious and have curiosity. And so I always say that anytime I go into any industry for a new startup or a new venture, I think like I'm a white belt, not a black belt, right? Because I still know a lot of things, but actually, no, I'm going to go with the white belt mentality into this kind of ecosystem to learn and have that curiosity. So I think curiosity is one, for sure. The second thing is taking risks, calculated risks. We as Asians, and our background is, do you risk everything to the point where there is no risk? It's like, hello? Like, you know? So, you know, I talk about this in my book, right? You've got to take risks which have a safety net underneath it. And you've got to know what those risks are, because if you're walking across a tightrope, for example, and you fall and you break your neck, you can't start again, you're dead, you're gone. So you've got to try to understand the risk of which one you can walk across the tightrope, but you've got a bit of safety net underneath to save you from the next time. because it's consistency in trying over and over again. You're not just going to be successful on your first go. And that's the other thing that I learned for lifelong being in a getting into a journey. Don't just think your first startup's going to go IPO. Yeah, it's the game that you're going to play for the next one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. So remember that. And if it does go off, then that's great. But not everything does. Having that mindset, it alleviates the pain of failure, right? So dealing with failure quickly is also another one. Bouncing back very quickly is a big one, I think, that I've had. I've had loads of problems in my life, loads of issues. Bouncing back, just coming back all the time, and trying new things.
These challenges are the beauty of startup journey, right?
Yeah, it is. It's owning that failure and knowing that when your startup fails or your business fails, that's not you failing. That's your business failing. You are enough already as an individual. So you have to separate yourself from the business as much as you can. It's very difficult to do when you're a startup because you are the startup.
Exactly.
Right? And it works on the other side as well. If the startup is successful, separate yourself. Because that's the business that's successful. You're just part of that business. Otherwise it gets to your head. And you think, oh yeah, so it's that roller coaster of up and down then. So you want to try and be a more balanced approach to it. And that's where I'm taking that approach now in life. Where before it's like, yeah, it's all me. I'm the genius. You see a lot of these people, right, in startup world. Yeah, I'm the genius. You see a lot of them. I've been all over the world. I see a lot of these guys. But at the same time, as you get humbled very quickly when you do a lot of startups, when you're trying new things, when you're trying to solve new problems that haven't been done before. And that humility is important. And I see in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of humility already. But also the other side of that is that you need to have confidence. Right? In America, you go there and they failed 100 times and they're like, yeah, man, I'm the best in the world. In Southeast Asia, you fail once, it's like, oh, we're not going there again. And everyone else from family going to think, well, there it's like constant, right? Just, oh, you failed. Well done, you. Right?
Yeah.
Like, really? Oh, okay. And it worked funny for me as well when I was growing up because I didn't go to university or college. My parents were like, kind of gave up on me. They're like, just go and do whatever. So I was just trying things. Oh, I'm trying this now. Oh, you messed up again. Yeah. Oh, again. Whereas my brother and my sister, you're going to university, you're doing your masters, PhDs, whatever they were doing. Whereas I got away with it. I was just like, let's try things. So because they let me fail, it helped me kind of like get into the world of startups easily.
Amazing. Yeah, so I want to dive into your book a little bit because I think not everyone here understand the Miles framework that you wrote about and in the book. So you would like to explain more in that, the Miles framework?
Yeah, so the Miles framework is a framework that we created as part of the book about what an unfair advantage is. An unfair advantage is something which I coined the term when I was doing some investments in startups and I started to meet people. And I was in London, I moved to London and I saw all these people with flashy cars and nice houses. I was like, how are they doing this? Right? And then I used to always get demotivated, and I said, oh, these guys, they're just very clever. They're smart. And then I later realized that actually it's not about being smart. There's so many other factors, like your circumstances and your situation, that can lead to having some unfair advantages. And sometimes people don't even realize they have those. So when you ask them something like, how did you do this? Oh, we worked really hard. It's a common answer. But there's a lot more behind hard work. And so I wanted to look behind that hard work aspect to it. There's always hard work. You've got to work hard. And there's no doubt about that. There's actually working smart. That was really interesting for me. So an unfair advantage is like riding a bike. In normal life, you'd ride a bike, you'd get a lot of headwind hitting you and you're slowing down, trying your best. An unfair advantage is like having a tailwind behind you, some wind just pushing you and you're riding the bike. So once you identify your unfair advantage, it's that tailwind that pushes you. But you got to know what yours are, and everyone's is unique. Not everyone has the same unfair advantages. There are multiple unfair advantages, they compound with each other. And on the Miles framework we invented, it's simply a framework that sits on top of mindset, because mindset is super important. And it's money, intelligence, insight, location, luck, education, expertise, and status. And those are the 5 pillars that we have that sit on top of mindset. And then within that, it's about identifying what's going for you, but also maybe what's not gone for you as well. So it's a double-sided coin when you look at unfair advantages, and we can talk a bit about that.
Yeah. So I think Malaysian, some of us believe in luck a lot. And success is considered means that you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a way to create that luck, or is that a person's unfair advantage, or?
So during the writing of the book, I researched hundreds of different entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs that you probably haven't read about and know about. There's so many successful small business entrepreneurs that are doing so well that we don't hear about in the press or in the media or on social media or Instagram. They don't flash it. So those are quite kind of the interesting people you want to meet, not just ones who are just flashing it and cool, you can learn some things, but it's the ones who are really doing well, business people that you meet. And I asked them this question: what was the secret to your success? Right? And a lot of them, after going through all the things, they all said, you know what, I got lucky. Then I was like, oh, what do you mean you got lucky? And then I kind of realized that actually luck is kind of an interesting area, because it's being at the right place at the right time. But you have to be at the place at the time to create that luck. And there's different types of luck. You got blind luck, which is dumb luck. You're just born into a rich family. That's not you. Just luck, blind luck, dumb luck as we call it, right? It's just there. Or you have luck that you've created because you were prepared and you were going out there, like you guys are now, coming out to network and people to create the luck. So you can have dumb luck, which is just being born in the right place, right time, with the right parents, and all those type of things, which is true. It happens, right? You can be born into money. Yeah, it's lucky. But if you're not born into money, then how do you create your luck then? Well, can you network? Can you build your confidence skills? Can you come up with there's so many other things you can do as well, right? So there's different types of luck, and that's important to know. You got to increase what we call the surface area of the opportunity for luck. And to do that, you can't just rely on dumb luck. You got to go out and do more.
So besides just going out and do more, how does entrepreneurs, like within their resource constraint, and still in this kind of environment, it makes your mindset, you mentioned mindset, and these people with deprived resources makes you negative, or they think they can't do it. So can you speak a little bit more about what the mouse framework sits on top of the mindset? What kind of mindset should a person have?
Yeah, you have probably all heard about the growth mindset, right? Yeah, I think it's interesting, the growth mindset, because the growth mindset is like you can do anything you want if you just believe in it and you go for it and you can do it, right? And that's the motivational books, right? I find a lot of motivational books to be like junk food. You love eating them, but you don't really get much out of it afterwards. You need real practical thinking, real thoughtful approach in how to think about your growth mindset. So in the book we phrase the term reality growth mindset. And the reason I say that is because if some kid who's 20 years old comes up to me and they're 5 foot tall and they say they want to be an NBA basketball player, I got to give him the truth. Because it's an unfair advantage to be naturally tall to play basketball. You can't control this. The chances and odds are in your favor if you are taller than if you are shorter. Don't get me wrong, there might be 1 or 2 short players in the game, but the odds are against you. So the reality growth mindset is actually, it's not you can do anything you want. You can do anything that you want that's in your unfair advantage, that's in your lane. And stop comparing yourself to everyone else. And part of that unfair, that mindset is about the victim mindset. It's always about what we don't have. We don't have this law, we don't have that law. You got a lot of things. I've been here. I'm like, whoa, you got a lot of things here, right? But it's that perspective of changing of what you do have, not what you don't have. And stop looking at the West and thinking Silicon Valley and the UK for startups, because I've been there. And I can tell you, you can take elements of good things from there and bring them here, but you can make the Malaysian way of doing things here your way. And that's the thing that's going to inspire the next generations and give you the opportunities, because you know this place better than anyone else. There's a reason why Uber couldn't take over this region, right? They were the big dogs coming in, right? Everywhere around the world, but not here.
So for entrepreneurs, like, entrepreneurs, right? There's always people talking about imposter syndrome, like how do they deal with these self-doubts, like because they are always trying to fake it till they make it, right? And because some of them, they have been constrained and they want to just fake it till they'll make it. What do you think of how overcoming these self-doubts and imposter syndrome for them?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, imposter syndrome. Even I can suffer from it sometimes as well, right? I think in the book we talk about one of the pillars, it's called status. And a lot of times status is what people see from the outside. Your clothes, your watch, the car, that's kind of like your status, the network you have and so on. But there's one other element of status which is super important that will change the game in how you approach imposter syndrome. And that's what I call inner status. It's what you say inside your mind about who you are. Your failures and successes, it's the story you tell yourself first, and then you will be changing the way you understand where you were standing if you're delivering a talk, doing a project, that everybody has a right to do something that's going to make a difference in the world. And if you have the right intention, imposter syndrome is always going to be there. Sometimes people confuse it for being nervous, but also do things that you're very passionate about and you've tried to learn a lot about. Now, I get invited for all sorts of stuff, and sometimes people ask me questions on politics. I go, look, I don't know anything about politics. I would have massive imposter syndrome sitting on the stage talking about politics. I'm not really into politics. So I wouldn't go there. So I would avoid that. So go into your own lane and your imposter syndrome will get less, but you'll always be nervous, because that's normal for human beings to be nervous, right? On stage or anywhere else. That once you know your subject inside out, or whatever you're going to talk about inside out, you feel proud of the failures and successes and your unique story and be your authentic self, then it makes it easier to not have imposter syndrome. My view is quite simple. Either you like me or you don't like me. If you don't like me, you don't like me for my real self. If you like me for me being real. I don't wear a mask. This is it. This is it. And that makes it easier for me to cut through all the toxic people and the right people I want in my life, and then get the right crowd around me and the right energy around me. So yeah, imposter syndrome is very difficult. It also has a big factor on people from ethnic backgrounds, because we've always been pushed down. You know, who are you? What's your name? Weird. Women, happens a lot, right? I've got a 17-year-old daughter, and she always struggles with this imposter syndrome. I'm like, I'm trying to teach her it's self-confidence, right? But everybody has it, even the top people I know, by the way. So it's not something like you just get rid of, right? Even the top people I know, I'm like, you're amazing, still have imposter syndrome, right? So it's hard to just get rid of it, but no, it's nervousness, and keep going through it.
Right, that's great advice. So what was the most significant turning point in your career? Would like to know more about that, and how did it shape your entrepreneurial philosophy as well? Because you see things in this giving great advice. So what significant turning point that makes you so knowledgeable and
So, we talked about the Miles framework, and a lot of people used to label me as the growth hacker. And the reason they used to label me as a growth hacker is because I'm cheap. And let me explain. So I never grew up with much money in my life, right? Money is one of the pillars. And every time I started a business, I was really, really creative. I was trying to find ways of doing things with no money. So it forced me to become resourceful. So constraint led me to become more creative. Weird, right? That's the other side of the coin of money. Having loads of money is great, but then having none is also okay. You can turn it. You can turn it. But it's always, of course, having money is great. We know that for a fact. Yeah. So, what was the biggest learning for me in my career? I think was I did a lot of things in a bootstrappy, growth scrappy way and cheap way. Everything try, and I suppose it's the Asian way, right? Cut cost, optimize. But when I was at Just Eat, we raised 10.5 million pounds from Index Ventures, and the CEO turned around to me and said, right, Ash, you've been doing a lot of growth hacking stuff and SEO and all these other cool online marketing channels. That's what I knew, monitoring everything. We're doing TV advertising. I shit my pants. 3.5 million pounds. I didn't know what to do with the money. I was like, well, what? And then we did some X Factor TV advertisements. Poof, oh yeah, X Factor TV. Was I excited about it? Not really. Did we do it? Yeah, because it was just done. Because we had money, let's do it. So my learning for me was, when you're starting something, try to be as lean as possible. But once you've got something that works, as soon as you feel it's working and you're getting that traction, throw the money on it. Don't hold back. Fuel the fire. But we're still, as sometimes, I was still very cautious. Oh, let's be cautious. Don't know. But actually, when you know something works, you believe in it, you can get the investment, and it's getting product market fit, as we call it. Throw the fuel on it. Let it go, because speed is important. And the biggest learning for me in my career was adjusting from optimizing and growth hacking to, loads of money, what do I do now?
That's great, amazing. So I spoke to some of the audience earlier, and they never started a business before, never have been on this startup journey. So what do you think is the biggest misconception when a new startup founder just jump into this journey?
Biggest
misconception, like what people thought of this founder journey.
A lot of it comes down to, it depends on your perspective. Some people say you're lucky, you got connections, right? Asian thing, they're just lucky, they got connections, they don't have money, therefore they can start. That's one of them, that happens, you see that. Their parents own businesses, that's why they started something new. So that's a common thing that I see in my culture, in our culture, very similar in cultures. The other biggest myth I find is that you got to have passion before you start the business. It's a big myth. You got to have passion. No, you've got to have a problem to solve, not passion.
Exactly. That's what Antler have been training us for 10 years. What's your biggest problem to solve? I think they can agree.
Okay, well there you go, right? So they're saying the right thing. That's good news, right? They're not telling you something else. So what's the problem? Right? And then I find people with the other myth you're talking about is like, I want to start a startup. I was like, okay. Why? I don't like my boss. I was like, that's not the right reason to start a startup. You know how hard it is? I don't like working 9 to 5. And I'm like, well, what about working from 8 till 12? Midnight. You go for it. So people want to start something because of something else. And what you want to do is go back to what the problem is and understand that you're trying to solve problems. And the biggest myth is that you need a lot of money to go there to do it. You need a lot of money to start a business. You don't, not now. You can build a website, knock something up for less than 50 quid if you wanted to. You can reach out to someone and email them for nothing. You don't need money to start the idea. You need money to grow the idea, but you need to have the courage to go there and ask for help and do things, do it and test it, right? And then the other myth that I find is that most people who look at people who've done businesses, they think that's their one business that they started from 0 to 100 million. It's not true. There's so many failures before they even started. You know the makers, Rovio, of the game Angry Birds? They made 56 games that failed completely before Angry Birds became a success. But we only look at the success. So the myth that people have when it comes to starting a business is that you've got to have the hero idea straight away, but actually you don't. You can just start small and fail and learn and pivot and change, and eventually you get to that point.
Exactly. So, couple more questions before we open up to the floors who wants to ask questions directly to Ash. So we'll pass the mic around. So prepare your questions before that. So one last question is that what do you hope the readers take away from the unfair advantage? That you really hope that they get out of it from the book?
Everything in life that you see around you in social media, the news, and people that tell you stuff is all about what you don't have, and the weaknesses, and lack. And what I want people to walk away with is to have the gratitude to say that actually, what do you have going for you? Because when you become grateful, you can use that as a power. The whole element, the whole basis of the book is actually to have gratitude. What have you got going for you already? You already have what it takes to succeed. That's the subtitle. So there's two caveats. One is to be grateful for what you already have going for you. And the second thing is define success for yourself. That's a big factor. Right? What is success to you? And I didn't know, because you just look at media, everything else, and go, okay, success is having an IPO. Success is having a 1.5 billion company. Actually, my version of success is so low compared to what people will think they're ambitious. That's because the startup environment and this bro culture and the investors confuse you. They'd want you to build a business that's going to give them a return. Forget the founder. You're working like a dog, right? So you have to be very smart when you raise money and think about what you're trying to do. It's confused. I know founders who sold their business for 50 to 80 million pounds, and they've walked away with not much, right? Because the cap table was all messed up, but they got a nice business. And I know founders who are having the best life of their time of their life with a 5 to 6 million pound a year business. What is it that you want? What is success? And defining that to yourself is important, right? Because the startup game, success is an IPO. Success is 100 million. That's what they say. But actually, it's a lot more than that. There's a lot having freedom to do what you want, creating an impact, creating financial freedom potentially for your family. But it's hard work. You're not always going to get there. 90% of startups fail within the first 3 years. If you were betting on something and said, you know what, 3 years, 90% chance that's going to fail, would you bet on it? Yet here we are starting companies and businesses, right? Because we believe in ourselves, for some reason we're the geniuses, right? But the learning experience of that is so great that you take that with you wherever you go, into the corporate world, in your life, family, and you can learn a lot. But remember to have that safety net. Because not many people talk about the people who are in the graveyard. It's survivorship bias. We want to talk about the best things. There's a lot of failures. That's why I wanted to open the book up and talk about that as well in a different way. Right? But you got to remember, you're not the failure, the businesses. You've got to separate yourself.
Great. So that was my last question for the fireside chat. But I have a personal question. So I'll start first, okay? So, me and my co-founder David here, who's holding the camera, is building this AI startup. It's called Doing.ai. So that's the logo. And I wanted to ask you, Ash, is that how do you think technology, especially like AI, is changing the way entrepreneurs work? Or is it also they can also leverage on some kind of unfair advantage that's on the technology side to scale or to build up their startup?
Oh yeah. You know, AI is coming out now. Reminds me of the dot-com era back in 1997. I was like, oh, e-commerce, sell things on the internet. It's like, what is this internet? World Wide Web. AI is in that stage right now. It is phenomenal opportunity for anyone now to start using AI and to upskill in AI and to understand how it works. I think it's the game changer, but it's knowing how to make it work. And I think in the next 2 years, we're going to find a lot of trying things here or there. That's what happened in dot-com days. We just try this, try that. Oh shit, that doesn't work. You know, so I think we're at that stage right now. However, it's a phenomenal tool that will change the way we hire, we build, we automate. The beauty of having AI, I think for me, is the ability to automate. I'm still involved with sales calls. I want my avatar to do my calls. I want my avatar to do my meetings now. See you later, I'm off. Right, but it's that freedom of time that can be created from it. So AI is a game changer, and we're still experimenting, and it's about amplification of human creativity. You still need to be creative to use AI. AI is not going to be creative for you. You know, I chat to my ChatGPT on a daily basis. I kick the shit out of it. Actually, I got told off. You need to be nice to your ChatGPT. I kick the shit out of it. What's that wrong? What are you talking about? So, let me. Thank you very much. Let's.
I do that.
I really kick the shit out of it. And I was kicking the shit out the other day, and I was like, yeah, I'm planning on doing this. And it came back to me and said, Ash, well, you tore your hamstring 3 months ago. I wouldn't recommend that. I was like, what? It recognized that I'd already searched for my, my hamstring injury that I had, right? And said, ooh, shouldn't we? I was like, really? Really? But, one of the things I did with AI, for example, was I used AI for a lot of things, for personal brainstorming, business brainstorming, and so on. And at the start of this year, I asked AI, what do you think should be my New Year's goals in 2025 based on what I did? And I can tell you what, it came back with some phenomenal results because it had all the history if you stored a memory on it. So AI is going to revolutionize a lot of things. AI in startup is going to change the way corporates work. That's already happening. They're very slow. People think they're fast. They're very slow. We're putting AI agents into their businesses. There's a lot of challenges around ethics and privacy and security, which I think are challenges that we need to come across. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a challenge that we go with. I'm like, oh, how the hell did you know about my torn hamstring? But it's because of the memory, and so there's certain things we need to think about with AI in that sense. There's also a lot of bias in AI. If you ask it certain questions, it'll be like, nah, mate, you're completely wrong, right?
Yeah.
So we can't stop having a critical mind. And the problem we're going to face with AI is that people are going to stop having a critical mind. It's like when the calculator came out, someone needs to use a calculator to do 5 times 5. When you should be able to do it in your head, right? Hold on a sec. It's 5 times 5, guys, right? Or 10% of 50, right? It's like people still, so that critical mind is going to be a challenge, I think. But in terms of automating tasks, agents to do certain things, I think it's going to change the whole job ecosystem massively. And I think actually Southeast Asia is well poised to use AI to change the world.
Right, that's amazing. So I think AI has spurred a lot of these resistance that AI is going to replace human, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Just your thoughts, what do you think about that? Do you think AI is going to replace human jobs or, yeah?
Can it wash my clothes? Make me a cup of tea? Iron my clothes? AI can't do everything. You always need people to do certain things, right? So I think AI can amplify what you're already doing. And yes, there'll be certain roles which are very standardized roles like accountancy and certain things. I think it will replace a lot of those things, right? Mm-hmm. I think it will. I've got a friend of mine who's a top doctor in the UK, and we were just talking about how one of my friend's mother fell and she broke her collarbone, and he'd gone to the hospital to speak to the doctor, and he wasn't too sure if the doctor was saying the right thing. Should we have the operation or should we not? I came back home and it came back to me and I said, why don't we upload the X-ray to ChatGPT and see what it says?
Second opinion.
Yeah. Second opinion, not the only opinion. So we got the first opinion from one doctor, not sure. Second opinion was actually ChatGPT. It raised more questions. And then we got the third opinion from my friend who's a doctor. We triangulated it. And we got to a point where actually we got to a good conclusion, because then he went to the fourth doctor. Then he went to the second doctor that he'd gone to get the right opinion, and they dealt with it in the right way. So we kind of triangulated it, right?
There's other model as well. Maybe he can try Claude 3.5 Sonnet.
yeah, that wasn't around since then. Yeah, so it depends on how you use it. I think it's going to change the way we do things, and also it's going to speed up in how you make startups. Like, look, when I used to have an idea, I used to go and ask my mom, the worst person to ask ever. No, but don't do it. She loves you, she doesn't want you to do anything, right? That's normal. Don't ask the wrong people about the ideas, by the way. Right. Now I go to ChatGPT and I debate the crap out of it. I go, why is this idea so bad? Is this idea good? First of all, I start basic first. And then I go really deep and go rate it out of 10. What about this? What about that? And I go bang, 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 and I'll debate it to a point where I get it. Okay, that's interesting. I know the pros, cons. Now let me go and talk to some real experts in the industry or my customers about this. So it's fast tracked that loop for me. Before I'd be like, oh, mom, what do you think?
The mom test.
Yeah, the mom test.
Walter introduced me that book. Yeah.
Yeah, the mom test. Yeah. Don't ask your mom or even your best friend. But they don't really know. I mean, they just love you. They don't really want you to work and be busy away from you, right? Their interests are not there, right? They might say, oh yeah, I don't know, you know. So that's another thing that you can use AI for, to just bounce an idea off it.
Yeah. That's cool. Thank you for answering my AI question. So I think it's time to open up to the floor, not just me asking questions. So anyone who would like to, it's an open mic, David can bring the mic to you. Anyone has some question that you can think of to ask Ash? Yeah.
Yeah, so I will go first. And first, this was really amazing, thank you. I had the same reaction as Audrey. Said, oh my god, it's coming to Malaysia. This is really cute. It's not scary, yes.
No. I didn't say that it's a scam. I believe him.
I get that quite a lot, actually. You know, it's like actually some people have been using my name to scam people, so be careful.
Oh, so maybe you think imposters. I'm a
scam. They are imposters, but you're talking to me, the real me.
I hope you don't think I'm a scam.
No, we'll come for you. No. So I actually have a question about the Miles framework, because when I read the book, like, I also messaged you that, wow, this is life-changing, and I was trying to do the exercise that was in your book. And I'm gonna tell like a short story to give some context to what was my difficulty for the exercise. I mentioned that I do stand-up comedy, and I've been doing it since 2017 in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and I've done sold-out shows, I've done weekend shows, and only like slowed down during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of times when I tried to sign up for shows in KL, the organizer would just give me like 3-4 minutes, and they were not really keen on me. And basically treating me like I was a new person, even though I've been doing it for a while. And another guy who's newer would get like 5-7 minutes, whatever. But last year, one time, I started to do comedy in Singapore. I didn't have much expectation, and the organizers from the first get-go, they really like loved me, and there was even another one who said that I was better than an international comedian from Malaysia that he worked with. I'm not going to say his name, so I don't want to make him mad. And to the point where this second organizer actually gave me a headliner spot. So my first headliner was not in my own country, it was there, and it was sold out in fact. And then when I thought back about this experience, because I remembered your book when you were saying, okay, try to identify your exact advantages, disadvantages. And I think, for me, I was thinking like, was it my look? Was it my race? Was it my gender? Was it the way that I spoke? Was it the society? And then I realized, oh, maybe it would have been a good idea to have asked them what they liked about me. I think it's a bit too late now. So my question to you is that, was there ever like times you, in your life, when you were facing these things, were you able to pinpoint exactly what it was? Like, because you mentioned in your book, sometimes race was an issue, your look, your height, how you speak, or, something very specific. Were you able to identify very specifically, and how did you come to that way to identify?
Okay, congratulations, well done. So it's really difficult to identify at the moment what is the thing that opens the door for you. But the most important thing is that you went to Singapore, you had the conversation, you took the action. The outcome is out of your control, the process is in your control. So the most important thing is to know that the process and the things that you do in terms of action are important. The outcome you cannot control. For example, in your case, they might like you, they might like your lipstick, they might like your clothes, they might like you're a woman, or they might have just had a dropout of a comedian and they're looking for somebody. You just don't know. But the fact is you were there and you took the action. So look at the process, not the outcome. That's more important.
Great question. Anyone else? I heard hers.
May I know what is the selling price of the book?
The selling point?
Yeah. Because when I Google the book, I find many different prices, ranging from very low to very high. So I do not know why is it like that.
So that's okay.
Or maybe you can explain.
I can explain that.
Yeah.
Sadly,
How much is it? Let me
my
see.
book has been
Okay.
copied and copyrighted and faked. So now there's lots of versions of my book everywhere. They're not official books. There's only one book.
You can sue them, right?
Well, I've asked
I
my
checked.
publisher to sue them, but there's so many of these companies. I went to Indonesia and my friend came up to me and said, Ash, I've got the black copy of your book because I had a black version. I was like, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, hardback version. And I got to him and I was like, and he goes, Ash, can you sign it? And he opened it and was like, what's this? Knockoff. Paperback, missing pages, wrong author name, misspelling words. I was like, all right, I'll sign it for you, but it's not the right book. Got it from Shopee or something. I don't know.
So the original is 66 ringgit in Malaysia. In Malaysia, it's yeah. I think it's from Shopee. So support him. Don't buy from Shopee. Buy from the bookstore here.
So yeah, so that's why in this region, and I was so fed up of it. I went to my publisher and said, look guys, the book is being copied all over the world. There's actually two things then. Number one is, that's a good thing. There's a demand for it, right? So if someone's copying what you're doing, then okay, shit, that's quite good, right? So there must be a demand for it. There's a demand for it, right? Then I went to my publisher and said, look, we need to do something here. What can you do? So the book has been translated into Thai, Vietnamese, and now, more recently, Simplified Chinese. We did a launch of the book in Simplified Chinese. It's available in China, in Simplified Chinese, in the language. And so there's always going to be people who copy stuff. That's good stuff, right? That's the nature of the game. But a lot of the material that if you want to listen to me, you can listen to me on YouTube. I did a Google talk, TED talk. We've done loads of, me and Hassan have done lots of talks. So you can listen to about the book. I'll tell you what the biggest USP of my book is actually. It's the fact that I never tell you what to do. I never say wake up at 5 o'clock and your life will change. 5 o'clock in the morning, your life will change. Do 100 press-ups and this will happen. I did this and this will happen. I never say that in a book. Think about it. I always say, discover yourself. Be introspective. I give you the lens to look at yourself in a different way. So we don't try to be prescriptive in the book. We give you a way to start thinking, the thinking process about who you are. We'll never ever tell you what to do, right? Someone says, Ash, what's the secret to Just Eat Success? Well, mate, what I did then might not work now, so it doesn't really matter. But it's the mindset behind that that's important. So the biggest factor about my book is I'm never going to tell you to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't care what time you wake up, when you do things, because I don't know your life. You might have kids, family. But what I do say is everyone's got an unfair advantage. You just need to discover it. So that's the USP of the book.
Great. I think we have another person that, Harris.
Hey Ash.
Hey man.
Hey. Hey Ash, big fan of your book by the way. I picked this up about 2 years ago. I didn't even know what you look like. And I'm
Hope I look better in person than you think.
Yeah, so just a little backstory. I bought this book initially because I wanted to level up my career back then.
Amazing.
I was working as an engineer. I just wanted to get promoted, right? But
Did you get promoted?
I ended up founding a business.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, so
Gone on to dark side.
yeah. So great book. I think think
Oh, thank
for the
you.
most part, I've been carrying it with me almost everywhere.
Oh,
really
amazing.
However, I do want to ask for one. I want to know what you think. Right? You did mention earlier about culture being could be a potential thing that may differ when where you go. Even though you have everything on the Miles framework covered, culture could be different. Right? Like for example, Southeast Asia humility is an
100%.
issue. In fact, in your book, you mentioned about Chris Ye. I think about 2 months ago, I was mentored by Chris Ye from Blitzscaling.
Okay.
And one of his comments was, "You're too humble to me."
To you, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I want to know from your perspective, as Southeast Asians, what can and humility is inherent in our hearts. I mean, inherently we are pretty humble people, but without being too much without changing too much of your character. When you want to go out, you want to go sell your product. What do you think? How can we overcome this "you're too humble" image?
Yeah.
Do not be looked down upon.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much for taking the book and carrying it around everywhere like a Bible and converting people. You're like the Jehovah's Witness of unfair advantage, door to door. Thank you so much for carrying it and reading it and getting inspiration. I'll sign your copy for you and we'll get some photos at the end, so we'll get that, I know. You probably wait for that. So humility is one of those things, right? Because we Asians generally, and we have this, right? Even me, people meet me for the first time and they're like, why is he so chill? Someone asked me, what does it feel like to get out of bed and know that you're an author, best-selling author? I was like, nothing. Just fall out of bed and, okay, the book's there. It doesn't really, I don't attach myself to it as much. But I try to inspire the next generation, at least the young kids, about it, when I'm changing, speaking to other people. So I think it's the balance between, confidence and humility. There's a balance between it. And some cultures will think that if you're confident that you're not trustworthy. So it's about building trust. And something I learned the other day is this manja thing over here. Yeah? Manja. Why do you do manja? You do manja? If I pronounce it right? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, we do that because us Asian people, this culture, they need the ability to build trust. Once you've built trust and you are confident in your product or service, tell them. So you got to build trust first, and then your humility will change. There's nothing. Humility is just knowing, but trust is important. So when I talk to my clients, and I know that something, I've got many startups, and I've had clients who've just put money into my bank account, and I'm like, why did you do that? We can't work with you. I've given the money back. That's true trust. Is that humility or is that trust? We needed the money. We started, gave the money back. Said, I can't help you. So I'm honest about what's good and what's not good, right? But at the same time, being confident in knowing that you can make a difference and achieve something, because that's important. And that confidence you can build across from trust first. So build trust, and this, by the way, in UHubs we do a lot of sales, diagnostic, and competencies. And the biggest thing in winning deals, in growing your business and doing stuff, is building trust. Trust with other people. So build trust, and then have humility or have confidence. Is up to you. But if you build the trust, you can go either way, depending on who you're talking to. So that's one thing, and it's also the way people see it. It's how you project your confidence. Sometimes there's an element of self-confidence, but it's the way you project that confidence. So what is self-confidence versus projected confidence? In America, they're all running around thinking that they're all Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. Their confidence like next level. I'm looking at the kids going, yeah, I'm going to be a billionaire in like 10 years. I'm like, wow, confidence next level. I'm really surprised, right? When I went to America, I was like, oh yeah, we're raising £1 million for one of my startups. And he was like, no man, you need to raise 10 million. I was like, what? And then I went to somebody else and said, we're raising 10 million. He said, no man, you need to raise 100 million. These guys are just like, bang, 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 right? They just have this confidence about themselves and doing things right. And you see that a lot with people Sometimes they use confidence to hide who they truly are. MBA grads who use polished slide decks, really nice looking, but there's no substance behind it. So if you've got substance and you truly believe in yourself, it's your approach to how you talk to the individual, and your approach to how you manage it. It's really awkward because I have the same problem, by the way. Some people say, oh, well, like I go to a meeting sometimes and they don't really know who I am. And then the other guys are like, Ash, tell them who you are, tell them who you are. I was like, what? Like, tell them who you are, right? But actually, it works in my favor because it gives me the opportunity to listen, to understand what's really happening. Because I'm just not judged, right? And as soon as they know who I am, then it's like, oh, okay, changes, and you can see straight away the change now. Why? I'm the human being, I'm the same. So I think it's about treating another person like a human being, how you would like to be treated, and the same thing vice versa, right? And sometimes when we see something wrong in someone else, it's because we might have that wrong thing in ourselves. That's why we identified it in the first place. So humility is a good thing, but it's humility in the right places, choosing the right place to have humility as well, right? Sometimes you've got to be a leader, yeah, and you need confidence to be a leader. If you have humility in leading, then it's just not gonna work, right? You've got to just go for it, yeah. Anyhow.
Amazing. Oh yes, we will have a book signing session at the table there, and yeah, we will. You can bring your book for Ash to sign. So before we go for book signing, anyone still have questions to ask? Just let David know or raise your hand. Rajesh.
Thanks, Ash. Very good interview session. Just a question. I'm a new startup founder, and so it's something that I really believe in, which is replacing plastic with natural materials. But so when people say founder, it's just the whole expectation that you are the face of the whole thing, right? And then when it fails, obviously it looks like a personal thing, but you've been saying that you try to separate it from the project, but it's the expectation when you go, you try to raise funds, when you present to people, anybody you speak to the clients, so how would you, or what would be your advice to really have that separation, or if it does fail, like how do you separate that? Because it's obviously a project that me, for example, I'm really passionate in, and the anxiety of failing is like, it could be detrimental to a lot of things, right? Because we believe in the product.
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because when you're the startup, when you start a business, you are the business, right? The people are the business. And I've got this diagram which I talk about. It's like when you start up, you have your unfair advantages with the founding team, and then as you build systems, the unfair advantages start to grow within the systems and the business, the brand, distribution, and all those kind of factors grow in. But you are the business, so you're the unfair advantages in the business. But you've got to treat it like a project. And you've got to stop thinking about what other people think. That's what you're scared of, actually. You're scared of external opinions. That's what you're scared of. The common thing. What are people going to say? My mom always says it. What are people going to say? I don't give a shit what they say. And they hate me for that, by the way. Because I'm like, I don't care. There's always this thing when you have success, when you have failure. They always say the same thing. They always say the same thing. They always say this. I went to my parents' house one day, and I had bought a sports car, and I drove down to my parents' house. I said, my dad came out and goes, oh, what's this? It's only got 2 seats. I was like, yeah. What's the insurance on this? Why is it so loud? And he was so upset. I was like, shit, man, I just worked my ass off. I was like, and then I walked into the house, and I was like, well, why is my dad so, like, a bit, well, I just thought he'd be proud, And then he gave me a hug. He gave me a hug and said, you know what? I'm actually really proud of you. You earned your money the halal way, which we Muslims say the right way. But, my only concern is that everyone on the road is going to think you're a drug dealer now. I was like, what? Right? So when you make it, people are going to have opinions. When you do good things, people are going to have opinions. When you don't make it, who gives a shit? Let them. You're the one who's in the ring. You're the courageous one. You've got the courage. Courageous people are always going to get hit and always fall, and they carry on. The key thing for you is if you carry on, not if you get hit and fall. That's what you got to understand. Yeah?
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone who wants to ask question? Oh, Sam. Yes. Great. Is there?
Hello. First of all, thank you, Audrey and Ash, for the fireside chat. It was very insightful. Ash, just zooming in, you said that you thought that Southeast Asia was a great place for companies to leverage AI to, I think you said, dominate the market. Just curious, what do you think are the unfair advantages as a startup founder of building a venture or a project, like you like to say, in the region?
So I think a lot of startups, good question, Sam. Sam is actually working with us, so he helped organize this with Audrey as well. And he's also going to be working with UHub soon, hopefully. So watch his space. You'll probably see him around. So most people think very regionally when they start a business. AI can now make you think global right from the outset. You don't need to be regional for AI. You can be global straight away. That's the first thing. Second thing, it's a level the playing field. Everyone's got access to the same tools, and the cost factor is so low that most people can access. Accessibility is easier. So the playing field is becoming more level for anyone, like a 16-year-old Malaysian kid sitting in their parents' house coding away using AI, right? The tools are becoming much more available to use. So accessibility is there, but going global first is important, thinking global, right? Malaysia is positioned geographically in an amazing place in terms of east-west when it comes to business. You're positioned perfectly when it comes to diversity, positioned perfectly when it comes to language. You know, Mandarin, English, Tamil, like there's so many advantages that you've got. The Asia, APAC market is growing faster than most of the other markets. The EMEA market is just, UK is like, right? US is now changing, but you know, we always look on that side, right? The grass is greener on, you know, that side, but actually if you water the grass on your own side, you've got plenty of grass because you've got some amazing green grass, right? And it's amazing, by the way, the greenery is amazing. I drove through Malacca and I saw it all and I was like, nah, this is amazing. So I think it's a mindset. That's the first thing. Go global first, build something that you can have and interact. You can have customers anywhere in the world with an AI tool. Why are you just saying, I want to be in Malaysia with Southeast Asian? Yeah, you were built here, right? But actually you can go global, right? Really quickly. Access to talent, universities, you know, like you can build, you know, some people think that you have to build like a startup and build a £100 million company. You don't always have to. Like if you've got a business that's making, I had a business once that was doing like £2 million a year. I had my best life. I was like living the best life, right? But then I've worked in businesses where I've got more turnover, more everything, and I was like, shit, this is hard work. So you don't need to aim for massive 100 million businesses. You can aim for a £4 to £6 million a year business, have 8 or 9 people working for you, an AI SaaS-based type of tool, leverage the time, effort, and live the best life. That's the other thing. We need to be ambitious and hope, but the ambition needs to be set in the right thing, not just like a reality growth mindset. You can build a £4 to £6 million a year business, but don't try to go for a £100 million business right straight away. Like, do that first. It'll free you anyway, financially and in so many other ways. So I think it's the ambition levels, the mindset. I think I want to come back here. I want to do more work in the region with the young people, mentor. I think mentors is another thing that's needed here. The government initiatives on AI are massive when it comes to the big companies. They're all going to benefit. What about all the startups and the smaller companies? I wish I could work with the government to support smaller companies. That actually, these are the brain powers, the cells underneath that. The big companies, yeah, so what? Nvidia, Microsoft, they're going to benefit billions, but it looks good on PR. But what about all the people who are starting the smaller companies that benefit, can work within that ecosystem? So, I'm very bullish on Southeast Asia, on the whole region. Very bullish on opportunity, populations, penetration of internet, usage, modernity. It's just, yeah. There's so many things, right? And the Makan.
All right. I think I'm conscious of time, so I'll let you guys. If you are shy, don't want to hold the mic, so you can go up to Ash with your book or without a book. You can ask questions directly to him. It's open up for book signing, networking. If you have come after we have started a bit, so you can now talk to your people, meet new people. And yeah, thank you for coming, joining us for this fireside chat. Please give a round of applause to Ash Ali. Thank you so much.